if you're ready, I want you all to refer to your tutorial questions. I want you all to refer to the questions on free consent. Okay. Now, in relation to free consent, there will be two questions in exam. One will be an essay question like this. This kind of essay questions will carry 10 marks. And also, there will be one problem question. And each problem question will carry 15 marks. So now, I'll give you about 10 minutes. I'll give you 10 minutes. Alright, I'll give you about 10 minutes to go through these questions, try to understand, try to figure out the answer, and we'll do it together in about 10 minutes time. And when we discuss the answer, you can check and see whether did you answer the correct way or not. Okay, so please read through the questions, try to understand, and we'll do it together in 10 minutes time. Okay? Alright, guys. If you're ready, let's look at these questions over here. These are very easy questions. Okay? Now, in the exam, you will be given one question like this. Okay? Now, let's look at the first question. Now, let's look at the first question. Explain any two situations under law of contract when there is no free consent. Now, there are 5 situations where there are no free consent. Name me 2. Fraud, some more? Misrepresentation. Alright? So what you need to do is, okay, there are 5 over here. There are 5 over here. Coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrep, and mistake. You can choose any 2. You can choose any 2 and briefly explain in about half a page. Okay? Your answer should be about half a page. Alright? So what you can do is, there are 5 situations where there is no free consent. Your job is to choose any 2 and explain each one of it in about half a page. Alright, your total answer should be half a page. So there are 5 over here. Choose any 2. Okay, there are 5 over here. Choose any 2 and explain in about half a page. Alright, you can do that? Okay, look at the next question. Explain what is fraud misrepresentation. Now, what is fraud misrepresentation? Fraud misrepresentation happens when the person, what does he do? Purposely lies. That means when he makes a statement, he knew whatever he's saying is not true, yet he said it. So fraud misrepresentation happens when the person purposely lies. When he made a statement, he knew whatever he's saying is not true, yet he makes a statement. And fraud misrepresentation is stated in section 17. So what you can say over here is, fraud misrepresentation is governed by section 17, Contracts Act 1950. Fraud misrepresentation happens when one makes a false statement of fact before the contract is entered into, which influences the other party to enter into a contract. Now, fraud misrepresentation happens when someone purposely lies. I.e., here, he had the intention to lie. He knew whatever he's saying is not true, yet he made a statement. Okay? Okay, ready? Next question. What is undue influence? Okay, undue influence is stated in section 16. Alright? Undue influence is a situation where, okay, there was somebody whom you really trusted, but that person took advantage of you. Alright? He brainwashed you into entering a contract that favors him, but does not favor you. Alright? So what you can say over here is, alright. So what you can say over here is, according to section 16, subsection 1, alright, if you want to sue somebody for undue influence, you must prove 3 elements. Number 1, there was somebody of dominant position. That person used his dominant position to take unfair advantage of you. Okay? Now, you need to prove these 3 elements. And where dominant position is concerned, this dominant position over here, this is presumed in these 3 situations, A, B, and C. This dominant position is presumed in the following 3 situations. Situation of authority, fiduciary relationship, and situations where the person's age, illness, or bodily distress. The person's mental capacity is affected by either age, illness, or mentally or bodily distress. Okay, but remember, though in these 3 situations over here, undue influence, dominant position is presumed, but it is rebuttable. It can be challenged. That means if you can bring evidence to show that the contract was entered freely, then there's no dominant position. Okay. Okay, look at the next question. Okay, now, what happens when one party makes a mistake under law? Alright, so what if in your contract you mention a law, but you mention the wrong law? Then what happens? If you mention the wrong Malaysian law, doesn't matter, the contract is valid. But if you mention the wrong law, which is not enforced in Malaysia, then what happens? Contract is void. Okay? So that's my information. So if one party makes a mistake, then the contract is still valid. This is stated in section 23. It states that, okay, just a second. Alright, sorry, this is a mistake. This is when one party makes a mistake. If one party makes a mistake, the contract is still valid. If one party makes a mistake, the contract is still valid. Unless, okay, there is fraud. Alright? So over here, we are talking about one party making a mistake. And this is stated in section 23. Alright, so if one party makes a mistake, the contract is still valid. This is stated in section 23. Alright? Alright, so what you can say over here is, if one party makes a mistake, the contract is still valid. And this is stated in section 23, which states that the contract is not void merely because one party made a mistake, unless there was some element of fraud or cheating. Okay? Alright, now this is the last question for this area, i.e., what is the effect of mistake of law? Mistake of law. Okay, this one I just mentioned to you just now, right? What if in your contract you mention the wrong law, then what happens? If you mention the wrong Malaysian law, it doesn't matter. The contract is still valid. But if you mention a wrong law which is not enforced in Malaysia, for example, you mention a law of a different country, but you mention the wrong law, then what happens? The contract is void. Okay, so this is stated over here. Just look at it. Just look at it, okay? And this is stated in section 22. Alright, as I mentioned to you just now. Okay, if you're done with this, okay, I want you all to refer to some problem questions, okay? And remember, there will be one problem question in the exam from this area, okay? So I want you to refer, okay, to these problem questions over here. There are 5 questions over here which I want you to go through. I'll give you all about 15 minutes to read through this question, try to understand. At the same time also, you can take a short break also and go and stretch yourself or get a drink or whatever. So we will start our discussion at 9:30. So you can actually take a short break if you want to. Alright, at the same time also read through the questions and try to understand. And we will start our discussion at 9:30. Is it okay? Alright, please take a break and also read the questions. Thank you. Alright guys, if you're ready, shall we start? Okay, now let's look at the first question. Okay, let's look at the first problem question over here. Now let's read through together. Let's read together, okay? Now, Aseng saw an advertisement in the newspaper which stated, used van for sale, 3-year-old Photon Vera, accident free, one owner, only 60,000 kilometers done. Call, sorry, yeah, so there's an error here. Call Ben at 014-234-5678. Now, Aseng contacted Ben and went to see the van. After a test drive, okay, Aseng offered to buy the van for 40,000. Ben agreed. Okay, the next day the transfer was registered and Aseng paid Ben 40,000 cash. 2 weeks ago, the van stalled. Aseng's mechanic, upon inspecting the van, told Aseng that the van had previously met with a bad accident. Alright, so what I call that, the mechanic told the Asing that the van had previously met with a bad accident. Now, what did what I call that Ben say in the advertisement? He said the car is accident free. The van is accident free. Okay, but the repairs were clear on the undercarriage. The odometer has been replaced. Okay, the van is at least 5 years old. What did Ben say in the advertisement? He said the van is 3 years old. Okay, and it has done at least 150,000 kilometers. What did Ben say in the advertisement? 60,000. Now, this statement which Ben made in the newspaper, what do you call this? It's actually a representation. It's actually a representation. It's a representation. It's a statement of fact. Okay, made before the contract is entered into, which induces the other person to enter into a contract. Now, we know from the facts over here, whatever which was stated in the advertisement, it is not true. Since it's not true, what do you call this? Misrepresentation. So misrepresentation is a false statement of fact made before the contract is entered into, which induces the other person to enter into a contract. Now, there are two types of misrepresentation. One is fraud under Section 17. And the other one is misrepresentation under Section 18. Alright, so one is fraud under Section 17, and the other one is misrepresentation under Section 18. Now, fraud happens when you purposely lie. Misrepresentation happens when you made a statement, you thought whatever you're saying is the truth, but comes out to be untrue. Now, on the facts over here, when Ben said in the advertisement, the car is accident free, the car has done low mileage, okay, what do you call that, the car is 3 years old, okay, did he purposely lie or was he careless? Is it fraud or is it misread? Fraud. Why is it fraud? Why do you think it's fraud? Now, one way to know that it is fraud is, in the advertisement, it is stated that he is the only owner. Okay, this van only has one owner, i.e. Ben. Ben is the only owner. If you were the only owner, wouldn't you know that your van has been in an accident before? You don't know, right? If you are the only owner of the van, wouldn't you know how old it is? So from here you know he purposely lied. Since he purposely lied, this is fraud under Section 17. And since it's fraud under Section 17, Section 19 says the contract is made voidable. If the contract is made voidable, okay, Asing is advised to terminate the contract under Section 65 and he can get back his money. Alright? So anyhow, if you want a simple answer, this is a simple answer. Oops, too fast. Oops. Alright, sorry about that. So what you can say over here is, the issue here is, can Asing recover the money from them? On the facts, there may be misrepresentation as there was a false statement of fact which was made before the contract was entered into, which induced Asing to enter into a contract. Now, Ben's conduct is considered to be fraud misrepresentation under Section 17 because he purposely lied. Since you are the only owner of the van before he sold it to Asing, you would have definitely known that whatever he stated in the advertisement was not true. Since there is fraud misrepresentation, the contract is made voidable at Asing's option. Section 19 says that. And Asing is advised to terminate the contract immediately. If Asing terminates the contract, Section 65 says Ben must return the money to Asing, and Asing must return the van to Ben. Conclusion, Asing can terminate the contract and get back his money. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Are there any questions? Okay, can we continue? Can. Okay, now, next question over here. J was induced to lend money to a company by a representation made by its directors that the money will be used to improve the company's building and generally expand the business. In fact, the directors used the money to pay off the company's existing debts because the creditors were pressing hard for the payment. Jade then discovered, that she had been misled and sought your legal advice to sue the directors, for damages for fraud and misrepresentation. Advise Jade. So over here you can see Jade lent money to the company, based on the statement which the directors made, stating that the money will be used, to improve the building and expand the business. So when the directors said this was actually a representation. A representation is a statement of fact made before the contract is entered into, which induced Jade to enter into a contract. But we know now that the company, instead of using the money to improve the building and expand the business, the company has instead used the money to pay off the existing debts. So in other words, this statement over here is not true. And since it's not true, we call this misrepresentation. Misrepresentation is a false statement of fact made before the contract is entered into, which induces the other person to enter into a contract. Now remember, misrep, there are two types. Section 17 and Section 18. Section 18, 17 is fraud, and Section 18 is misrep. 17, fraud means you purposely lie. 18, you were careless when you made a statement. On the facts, you can see that, the directors, they intended to use the money to pay off the debts. So in other words, they purposely lied. Since they purposely lied, this is fraud, misrepresentation. And this is fraud. Section 19 says the contract is made voidable in favor of Jade. And since the contract is voidable, Jade is advised to terminate the contract. And once the contract is terminated, Section 65 says Jade can get back her money. You understand? So anyhow, if you want a simple answer, let me share the answer with you. Can I share the answer? Alright? Yeah. So what you can say over here is, so the answer is similar to the earlier question. So what you can say over here is, the issue here is, can Jade recover the money from the company she lent, the money to? On the facts, there is misrepresentation because there was a false statement of fact which was made before the contract is entered into, which induced the other person to enter into a contract. Now the director's conduct is considered to be fraud, misrepresentation under Section 17 because they purposely lied. The directors had the intention of not using the money for the company's business expansion as stated by them to Jade. They instead intended to use the money to pay off the company's debts because the creditors were pressing on them. Since there is fraud, misrepresentation, the contract is made voidable at Jade's option. Section 19 says that. And Jade is advised to terminate the contract immediately. And once the contract is terminated, Section 65 says the company must return back the money to Jade. Conclusion, Jade can terminate the contract and recover her money. Do you understand? Are there any questions? Okay, can we look at the next question? Okay, now let's look at the next question. Tim is a mechanic who wishes to take a partner into his business. During negotiations between Tim and Kiara, Tim states that the income of the business is 60,000 a year. The accounts which Tim produces shows that the income is not quite 60,000 a year, and Kiara asks for the balance. Tim then produces further documents to show the figure was how the figure was made up. However, Kiara does not examine accounts in detail and agrees to become a partner. Kiara discovers the true position. Later, Kiara discovers the true position and seeks to rescind the contract, advise Tim over here. Okay. Now again, okay, please take note. Okay, this statement, which what I call that Tim made, is a representation. So representation is a statement of fact made before the contract is entered into, which induces the other person to enter into a contract. So you can see now, okay, this statement which Tim made to Kiara is actually not true. This statement is not true. This statement is not true. So since this statement is not true, we call this misrep. Misrepresentation is a false statement of fact made before the contract is entered into, which induces the other person to enter into a contract. Now there are two types of misrepresentation. One is fraud under section 17, and the other one is misrepresentation under section 18. Now in your opinion, okay, when Tim made the statement, did he purposely lie or was he careless? Most likely he purposely lied. So therefore, there is fraud, okay, under section 17. If so, the contract is paid voidable in favor of Kiara. Alright? And Tim is advised that Kiara, okay, can terminate the contract. And if Kiara terminates the contract, she's entitled to get back the money. Okay? So the answer is the same as the earlier one. The answer is the same as the earlier one. Are you okay with this? Alright, so you can see that, but the only problem over here is, another thing you need to know over here is, Tim may be able to use one of the defenses. Kim may be able to use one of the defenses, because you can see from here, okay, when Tim showed the accounts, okay, you can see that Kiara did not examine the accounts in detail, and she agreed to become a partner. Alright, so you can see over here, in this, so therefore, when this is concerned, since Kiara did not examine, okay, the accounts in detail, it goes to show that she's partly responsible for it. Alright, she's partly responsible for it, because she could have known the truth only if she examined further. Alright, so therefore over here, there may not be any misrepresentation over here. Alright, so this is stated in, what I call that, in explanation to section 19. Alright, so what you can say over here is, too small, let me make it a bit bigger. Too small, let me make it a bit bigger. Alright, so what you can say over here is, it's better, right? Bigger. Alright. Now you can say over here, can Kiara recover her money from Tim? Under law and application can say that there is misrepresentation and there was a false statement of fact made before the contract was entered into, which induced Kiara to enter the contract. Tim's conduct is considered to be fraud misrepresentation because he purposely lied. On the facts, Tim showed the documents which did not reflect the business true earnings. And this goes to show that he purposely lied. Thus, since there is fraud misrepresentation, the contract is made voidable at Kiara's option. Kiara is advised to terminate the contract. If so, Section 65 says Tim must return back the money. However, on the facts, Kiara does not examine the accounts in detail. If she did, she could have discovered the figures were not true. According to exception to Section 19, even if the consent is caused by misrepresentation, the contract is valid if the party who consented was so caused had the means of discovering the truth by ordinary diligence. So over here, Kiara, if she only had examined the accounts in more detail, she would have known the truth. Since Kiara had the means of discovering the truth through ordinary diligence, i.e. she could have examined the accounts in detail, the contract between Kiara and Tim is valid. If so, Kiara may not be able to terminate the contract and get back the money. Okay? Can you understand this? So this question, the answer is a bit different from the earlier one because Kiara did not examine the accounts in detail. That means she was partly responsible for what she did. Okay? Now let's look at the next question. Now, Ramu's dog, Bucky, strayed into the neighbor's garden and accidentally knocked into and broke a vase valued at 2,000. The angry neighbor detained Bucky in his compound. He refused to return Bucky to Ramu unless Ramu paid 15,000. Ramu was so anxious about the Bucky's safety that he promptly paid the money. Bucky was then returned unharmed. Ramu is not happy about the payment and wishes to on what grounds can the contract be? Under law of contract, he could recover the money from the neighbor. Advise Ramu. So in this situation over here, what happens over here is Ramu had to give 15,000 ringgit, to the neighbor, and the neighbor returned the dog. So this is a contract. Alright, this is a contract. The contract is 15,000 ringgit in exchange for get back the dog. But Ramu is not happy about this contract. He wishes to terminate the contract. On what ground can he terminate the contract? Over here, you can see that where Ramu is concerned, where the neighbor is concerned, the neighbor is unlawfully detaining the dog in his compound. Alright, this is unlawful detention of the dog of property. Unlawful detention of property in order to force the other person to enter into a contract. This is coercion under Section 15. This is coercion under Section 15. If so, the contract is made voidable in Ramu's favor. If the contract is made voidable, Ramu's advice, that he can terminate the contract and he can get back his money. Okay? So this is unlawful, unlawful. Unlawful detention of property. Unlawful detention of property. What's the property here? The dog. The dog is the property. Alright? So this is coercion. What's the property here? The dog. Okay? Okay, if you want a simple answer, okay, this is a simple answer. So what you can say over here is, can Ramu recover the money, the amount of 50,000 of the neighbor on the ground that the consent to pay the sum was induced by coercion? Okay, under law application, you can say that a contract must be entered with free consent. The consent must be free if it was caused by one of the consent is not free if it's caused by one of the vitiating elements like coercion, undue influence, fraud, or misrep. Okay, the contract is voidable at Ramu's option if there is one of these vitiating elements. The issue here is, was Ramu's consent caused by coercion? Alright, so coercion is defined in section 15. You can just define the coercion. Then you can say, as Ramu had paid 50,000 on the threat of detention and possible harm to his property, the dog, it can be concluded that his agreement was caused by coercion by the neighbor. Therefore, the contract is voidable at Ramu's option, and Ramu is advised to terminate the contract and he can get back his money. Okay? Okay? All right, this is the last question for this area. Sam advertised his durian orchard for sale. Okay, Kamal was one of those who was interested in the orchard because he had seen Mr. Sam using the adjacent field to graze cows. Kamal also wanted to graze cows, which would bring his profit apart from maintaining the orchard. Later, Kamal obtained the details from the sales advertisement, okay, which clearly stated the field in question was not part for sale since it belonged to Mr. Sam. Kamal did not read the statement and believed the field which would be included for sale. Okay? Kamal then bought the orchard from Sam. After the sale was concluded, Kamal discovered the field was not included in the sale, okay, and intended to set the contract aside, advised Kamal. So what happened over here is, there was a piece of land over here. And this land, okay, can be divided into two parts. One part, okay, had durians. Was a durian plantation. And the other one was used to keep cows. Used to keep cows. Alright? Sam advertised, okay, the durian orchard for sale. Alright? Now, Kamal thought, okay, the sale is for the entire piece of land. Okay? Alright, so Kamal thought, okay, the sale was for the entire piece, the durian orchard and for the cows. But the sale was actually only for the durian. The sale was only for this one over here. Alright? So after Kamal bought the land, only then he discovered that he made a mistake. Alright? Actually, it was not for the sale for the entire thing. It was only the sale for the durian orchard. So Kamal made a mistake. Since Kamal made a mistake, can he terminate the contract for mistake? The answer is no. Section 23 says if one person made a mistake, the contract is still valid. So over here, the contract is still valid. So anyhow, if you want a simple answer, this is a simple answer. Okay, can Kamal sue Mr. Sam? Under law application, okay, you can say that if one party makes a mistake, the contract is still void. Section 23 says that, unless there was misrep. On the facts, Kamal made a mistake and not Sam. Okay, Sam did not misrepresent himself, and the details of the sale advertisement simply stated that the field is stated that the field in question was not passed for sale, since it did not belong to Mr. Sam. Thus, this was a mistake on one party, and the contract is still valid. Section 23 says that. Conclusion: Kamal will not be able to sue Sam for mistake. Are you okay with this? Can we continue? All right. So